How I Met My Girlfriend's Sister and Her Husband, Part 1. Story related. It was almost 10 years ago when I first met Jacqueline in Kamietken. I was working as a part-time promoter in the summer, needless to say, boring and tiring. Fortunately, there was a sweet petite-looking girl working next to my booth, glad that I made my move. She was shy, reserved, but I could see the sparkle in her eyes whenever I made a corny remark that made her laugh. Jacqueline was a typical girl next door, in plain t-shirt and jeans. Comparing with those booth girls in short skirts and tight tank top with brand endorsement, Jacqueline can be easily shadowed. Well, skimpy dressing aside, most of them had their hair curled the same way with heavy eye makeups. Jacqueline had natural black and healthy hair which actually made her stood out from them. She had a natural glow on her cheeks. The best way to describe her is like the girl crush you had when you were in grade 1. We kept in contact after Kamietken was over, and before we knew it, Jacqueline and I were already dating, even though she was preparing for her final year in UCSD. Being in a strict traditional Asian household, she hardly gets to stay out even though she's turning 23. Her parents objected our relationship, so I made sure she was always back home an hour before her curfew. 11 a.m. was the time when the carriage turned back into a pumpkin for Jacqueline. Being late was never an option. Her daddy has a habit of hanging at the balcony, staring at the pathway towards their house every evening without fail. There was no goodnight kiss for me and Jacqueline, no making out near the gate, no grabbing of peaches. We just held hands. Getting caught in any form of intimacy was again not an option. If only her father knew his daughter's legs were always open whenever she was at my place. If it was not her legs, then it would be her mouth. Thank God Jacqueline managed to get second upper honors and her parents finally loosened the grips on her. They extended her curfew to 12 midnight the moment she found a job few months upon graduation. Her first paycheck was spent on a luxurious hotel room where we made out like bitches on heats, her way of repaying me for the times when we had sex back at my place. As I came amidst fits of spasm and groans that evening, it dawned on me for the first time the difference in spending power between us. July 2011, 1 year later. It was the first time I'm having breakfast with Jacqueline's family after dating for a year. I was feeling a little nervous and jittery. Does all Asian parents meet the daughter's boyfriend for breakfast? And at 7 a.m. I knew it was not just a simple breakfast, there must be hidden traps. Jacqueline once told me about the trial her sister's boyfriend had to go through in order to be accepted. Whenever I think about it, I can feel a shiver down my spine. I made an effort to be there earlier. At 6:58 a.m. I saw her dad's Honda Civic reverse into the parking lot outside the restaurant. As the car doors opened, I adjusted my collar, checked my bearing while waiting to receiving the military commander, her father. I saw Jacqueline gave me a wink and stuck out her tongue before talking to her mom. There was another girl next to them which I recognized as her elder sister. I've only seen pictures of her, and that was the first time I saw her in person, despite being together for 1 year with Jacqueline. Both the sisters shared the same smile, equally petite. I knew from Jacqueline that they share their wardrobe, even their lingerie. Sometimes I wondered if the sisters moaned the same way like how JAV stars do, if their love juice tastes just like the same pineapple sweetness from Jacqueline, and if they look the same when they come. Exchanged greeting with her dad first, then her mom, and finally Sierra. Sierra, hi Leaf, heard a lot about you. I was still holding onto her hand and I could smell the fresh citrus scent from her damp hair. Jillian followed closely behind and I could smell the same citrus scent from her as well. From the corner of my eye, there was a white guy trying to get our attention while sitting on the empty round table in the restaurant. He stood up and waved at us. He did not shake any hands. Sierra went forward for a hug and introduced him to me. Sierra, Leaf, meet my fiancé, Leonard. Our eyes met and we shook hands. As the staff led us to the table, Leonard spoke to me in a stern, low voice. Leonard, bro, how was it? Worse than an job interview, right? He laughed. Leaf, yeah, kinda stressful. But well, I will manage. Leonard, don't worry, it'll pass. I did not have much appetite and was my first time having dim sum. Jacqueline's dad was organizing his words meticulously, trying to hint me multiple times on his expectation towards his daughter's partner. I went with the flow even though it was stressful, but I can't deny that her dad was a great conversationalist. 8:28 a.m. We got the bill and left together. I felt weights off my shoulders once Jacqueline and I parted ways with her parents. We headed over to my place, and by 11:37 a.m., my balls lightened considerably too. October 2011. Ever since that interview, 4 of us hung out more often. I did not know why, but I felt comfortable with Sierra and Leonard, might be because I found someone that is non-Asian in the family. They were easygoing and generous with the spending since both of them were already working for years. I do not want to sound like a loser, but I was quite relieved that they settled the bills most of the time. Even though I didn't earn much with my diploma, I always insisted on going Dutch whenever we eat out. However, Leonard always refused to split. Thankfully, I managed to convince them to try cheaper dinners which served good food, and they finally allowed me to treat him. July 2012. Another year has passed, our conversation topics expanded and so was our boundaries. Leonard and I have hit off well, despite being 3 years older. We had many common topics and there was one topic that would be more common than the others. Sex. Stay tuned for more stories and don't forget to subscribe. Smiling Face with Smiling Eyes.